A warning to our audience, this next segment contains descriptions and images of police violence. We turn now to Mississippi, where 6 white former police officers who called themselves the Goon Squad have pleaded guilty to raiding a home and torturing 2 black men earlier this year, after first trying to cover up their actions. Some of the officers face life in prison. On January 24th, court records show the deputies raided a home in Braxton, Mississippi, after a white neighbor of one of the officers called them to complain there were black men staying there. The officer texted the others, quote, "Are y'all available for a mission?" That night, without a warrant, the officers burst into the home, handcuffed, beat, tasered the 2 men, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. Also sexually abused them with a sex toy with shouting racial slurs. One of the officers put a gun in Jenkins' mouth for a mock execution and pulled the trigger. The bullet lacerated Jenkins' tongue, broke his jaw, exited through his neck. This is U.S. Attorney Darren LaMarca last week announcing federal charges against the former officers for the attack.
But not only did they brazenly commit these acts, but after inflicting serious bodily injury by firing a shot through one of the victim's mouths, they left him lying in a pool of blood. Gathered on the porch of the house to discuss how to cover it up. What indifference, what disregard for life.
After the attack, Michael Corey Jenkins was actually charged with a felony based on methamphetamine the officers said they found in the raid. But records show that was a lie, and the charge was dropped. In fact, the deputies planted drugs to devise an excuse for the raid and also stole surveillance video from the house. Their body cameras were off. Court documents said the officers used the name Goon Squad, quote, because of their willingness to use excessive force and not to report it. The Associated Press found the deputies were linked to at least 4 violent attacks on black men since 2019. 2 of the men died.
Now, we're not going to say all the police officers are like this. We're not even going to say 50% of police officers are like this. We're not even going to say 20%. It'll be easy to say 30, 40%, but we can't say that. I know some of y'all want to say that, but we can't say that. Let's just say 10% of police were like this. 10% of the police were like these 6 police. These 6 police, 10% in the United States of America. There's over 800,000 police actively working in 2023 in America at this point in time. 800,000. 10% of that would be 8,000. Let's not even do that. Let's just say 5%. 5% of 800,000, that'll be 4,000, right? So 4,000 divided by the 50 states, that's like, what, 80? 80 cops like this in each state. Do you see how corrupt this is? Can you imagine that? 80 police officers. Think about how many police officers you see in a day. You might see about 4 to 5 police cars if you drive 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably like 4 to 5 if you're really paying attention. That means 1 out of each of those cars is a corrupt officer. If you just break the numbers down on it, it's crazy because these are 6 men that were just in this town not committing a crime, not doing anything. They were just there. That was the crime. Being there was the crime. Being there was the crime. And since being there was the crime that was committed, they were subject to being beaten, handcuffed, they were abused with sexual items like dildos and anally oily. It's like, come on. These things were done by police officers. Their reaction to these guys being in the city and town was, it's go get on a mission. How many missions did they have like this? They said they have complaints about them in the past with other people where 2 people died. Like, these guys got bodies, man. This is nothing that is new or abnormal to them. This is normalcy. So the thing is, like, what is going to be done about it? What is to be done about this type of, what do we do? Because it's like, we don't want to just make it about race, because when you make it about race, it's like, everything is about race, but this is race. This is that subject. This is that subject. I try not to make a thing between right and wrong. I try to look at it like a moral point of view, because you can have an opinion about what's right, and I can have an opinion about what's right. You have people that in their mind feel like what's right is what they done was what's right. That's why it was being done. I guarantee you, if this goes to, it's not going to trial. They're already taking pleas of guilt. But I won't be surprised if everyone doesn't take the plea of guilt. Somebody wants to take it to trial. So I won't be surprised if somebody wants to implicate somebody else, until somebody wants to bring up some other people that may be involved in this type of activity. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they do want to plead guilty, because if they want to plead guilty, they're not trying to fight it. I really feel like they're pleading guilty because they feel like, man, we don't want nothing else getting brought up. We're going to bring the whole town down. You know? So it's like, you know, and then you can't really, because you don't know how deep this goes. They might have people on the inside that while you're doing your time, if you tell on anybody else, you're going to face consequences. But I know they're going to have the hardest time in prison. Especially that one to the bottom left, that one in the middle, at the bottom, the one on the left top. Oh, they're going to have some time. They all going to have some problems, especially the one to the right and the one at the bottom right. Oh, man, they're going to have some problems in prison. Yeah, they're going to have, oh, man. The fact alone, see, the thing is, when you're incarcerated in prison, pedophiles and sex offenders, or, you know, certain individuals with those type of charges, they're subject to being sexually assaulted inside there. They're subject to that type of activity. They're subject to being extorted. They're subject to being beaten up. So the fact that you're a police officer, you're doing this to other men, yeah, somebody's going to do that to you, but not with no sex toy. I've heard of instances where they take brooms and till it breaks, you understand, to guys like that. So the death penalty probably would have been better, in their opinion, for what they're going to go through. They're going to wish they died. Especially if you're catching life, like this is the rest of your life, man. I guarantee you when it's going to break. But I wish the best for the families. Just see thoughts. I just want to speak on it a little bit. Give y'all my perspective on it. I appreciate y'all. Leave y'all response in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about it. See thoughts.